Welcome to another pole position hangout. It's been a while since we've done one, but it is good to see some friendly faces and some familiar faces back with us. First of all, I'd like everybody to introduce themselves, and probably because he knows what he's talking about, he's been here before. Andre, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yep, hi guys. Dre here. You might also know me as Harrison101 on YouTube, and yeah, pleasure to be back.
Very good to have you back. We love your opinion on everything. We also like a professional driver. Cameron Twynham's joining us today on the pole position hangout. Cam, introduce yourself for our lovely viewers, please.
Hi, well, I'm Cameron Twynham. I'm currently racing in Euro Formula Open, and yeah, that's me really.
How do you roll? Just fresh in from a bike ride. Training never stops when you're a driver.
No.
And our other guest this evening is Lewis. Lewis is joining us from Venezuela. So would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Oh, hold on one moment. There you go. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Luis from Venezuela. You just might know me from my Facebook page on Facebook. Pastor Maldonado is called. It's kind of like the biggest community in the world of Pastor Maldonado. Yeah, that's pretty much me.
That is perfect. We like that, and we like the fact that you're joining us from Venezuela. I feel very international. Woohoo! So yes, welcome to another pole position hangout. Lots been going on. Obviously, we had the Spanish Grand Prix at the weekend. We've had testing this week out in Barcelona. The teams have stayed out there. We've had crashes in testing with Caterham's Kobayashi. He crashed off, ruining their chances of doing any more testing. And we've seen Mercedes trialing what can only be described as a trumpet on the back of an F1 car. I never thought I would see the day. So with all of this to discuss, it's going to be a sort of good-sized hangout, I reckon, about half an hour. We've got some time to chat through a few things. Andre, let's start with you. What do you make of these megaphones that they are putting on the back of the F1 cars to try and increase the noise? Everybody's talking about the noise. Do you think it has done the business? Is it what we're looking for?
I can't say I agree with this decision. I thought Formula One being the pinnacle of motorsport that it is, everything that should be on a Formula One car should be designed to make it go as fast as possible. But maybe Mercedes are just so far ahead of everybody else right now they can afford to just stick a trumpet on the back of their car just for the sake of the fans demanding more noise or anything like that. But you know, I see it as a bit of a waste of time. I don't think I've listened to YouTube footage of them going down the main straight in Catalonia with the trumpet. I don't think it's made too much of a difference, but it's a little bit ridiculous. I don't think teams should be having to bend over backwards because that's just how these engines sound like. I'm sure most of the teams knew this was going to happen when they were developing the car. So I find it a little bit confusing more than anything else.
Well, Nico Rosberg saying he doesn't think it's made any difference at all. Yeah. As a driver, Cam, what do you think? Do you think it's worth trialing all these things? Is it just a whole load of fuss over nothing? Does it matter how your car sounds when you're going around the track, Cameron?
No, it doesn't really matter about how the car sounds. As long as you can hear when to change gear, that's all you need to know. You don't think about when going around about all the other, like the spectators and everybody sitting outside, because they're not the ones sort of controlling what's going on inside the car. So it's their choice to be there, and they get sort of what's there really.
That's a good point. That's interesting to hear that you only need to know when to change gear, essentially. It's not about the noise for the driver. It's exactly as you say. It's to please the fans. It's a part of the sort of spectacle, isn't it? But I have to say, I was in Barcelona at the weekend. I wasn't that appalled by the lack of sound. It's actually a bit nicer in a way, because all the time last year you spend going, hang on a second, just going to put some earplugs in, can't really hear you, come around here to talk to me. Now actually it's a little bit more manageable. You can. It's when the sort of GP2, GP3 cars fire up. That's when you're having the trouble now with the noise.
More of a social.
Yeah, so it's a much more sociable noise going on, sound, shall we say. Yeah. Luis, in Venezuela, so in England we've been talking about the megaphones and the exhausts all the time. What do people in Venezuela make of the change in the noise?
Well, I don't actually know, because I haven't heard any other opinions besides my friends that I told you Formula One. There are very few, because the community of Formula One around Venezuela is not that big. Actually, it's kind of growing up a little bit, the interest, because of Pastor Maldonado and stuff, but it's not actually a big, solid community of Formula One. But in my opinion, it was, first of all, it was uglier. It was making the cars uglier. They are ugly already, and they even uglier. It didn't improve the sound at all. Rosberg said that, and I think fixing the problem with the noise is not going to be the best thing to do. I think we will have to get used to it because it's going to interfere with the development of the car, the performance, and I don't know if that should be the best.
No, it's a good point, exactly. They already look a little bit funny with the noses. We've discussed that to a blow in the face, didn't we, at the beginning of the season? It was all about the noises. Now we're all looking at the back of the car, seeing what we can do to improve the sound. So, and it's interesting you mentioned Maldonado. Obviously, you've got the fan page on Facebook. Everyone go and check that out with Luis. He set the fastest time. How awesome was that? Not what you expect. And obviously, you can't take very much away from testing. Everyone's trying out new things, different setups. Chilton setting fast times. I mean, it doesn't exactly prove anything. But it's nice to see Maldonado keeping the car on the track, shall we say, Luis?
Well, I think it was good to see Lotus at the first position of the...
Hang on 1 second. Attention, attention. Ryan King has joined the call. Ryan,
Yes,
welcome. Welcome to the Hangout. I love this. A late joiner.
Thank you.
I almost want to get my megaphone exhaust and just sort of announce the fact you're here. Ryan, thanks so much for joining. Where are you joining us from?
From the beautiful city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the United States.
Oh my goodness, we're going so international today. I am loving this. This is great. And you know Andre, do you?
Yes.
Okay. Big fan. Gone across the pond. This is good. And you're an avid F1 fan, I take it, Ryan? Or motorsport fan?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, we will come on to some American side of things in a bit. We're just talking with Luis about Maldonado and how he set one of the fastest times, or the fastest time in testing. And we're just sort of chatting about Maldonado's progress, shall we say.
Well, the progress of Maldonado is definitely not a progress this season, I must say. I'm a big fan of him. I'm a fanboy of Maldonado. I mean, I have the Facebook page. But I gotta be honest, and I think that a good fan is the one that looks at the mistake of his idol, of his team, and says, no, stop doing this, go in another direction and improve it. And I think that's exactly what Pastor has to do. I mean, look what happened with Romain Grosjean. In 2012, he was the danger of Formula 1. He was banned from the race. He almost killed Alonso at Spa, and Hamilton calling grace and stuff. Everyone was calling him destruction and the bad boy and stuff. But now, at the end of 2013, he was called, oh, what a great racing driver. And he was the only one trying to at least fight a little bit with the Red Bulls at the end of the season. You have the only one car that was getting a little bit closer to them. And now, today, he's called like that. So if we saw that evolution of Grosjean from 2012 to 2010 to today, of improving, of growing up as a racing driver, getting settled down, I think that Maldonado needs to do the same, and he's in the same thing that Grosjean, Lotus. They did a great job with Romain. They should do it with Maldonado. Jorge Lopez is Spanish. Gastaldi, the second boss.
Yeah, Federico.
Yep. He's Argentinian, so they both speak Spanish. He must be feel really comfortable in there. So I think they really need to sit down, talk, calm him a little bit, because he's under big pressure recently because of the big money that he has been investing in them, the expectation, and the bad results from 2013. You have to check the Twitter of Maldonado. The comments are in the comments. I'm hating. A lot of people here hate him because of the politics. I must say he made that big, in my opinion, mistake to show himself as a guy from the government, right? Like he likes the government. He likes the revolution and Chavez and stuff.
It's interesting you say that because I was talking to Claire Williams a couple of weeks ago, and she was saying when he was at Williams, they used to have Chavez on the phone every weekend saying, why didn't you do well? Why haven't you qualified higher? Why aren't you on pole position? Can you imagine David Cameron ringing up Lewis Hamilton and being like, oi, why are you not on pole position? So the pressure to have a government behind you, as well as all your fans, as well as your team, as well as your family, it's kind of a weird pressure that you don't really expect in sport, do you?
No, at all. And he's a Latino. Latinos, we are hot-headed.
Jalapeno, I love that. That's good. I like that.
Look at Montoya. He was like that. Montoya was aggressive. The team radios, the one that the camera guy hated, he's aggressive guy. But Montoya knew how to handle that aggression in the right direction. Maldonado needs to learn how to do the same. As Lopez said he's so quick that maybe for him the 95% of speed might be enough, because he's always pushing like a qualifying lap. He has shown that he's fast because his Monaco results, 2011 almost P6 until Hamilton came in. And he has shown that he's fast, a fast driver, but he needs to settle down, be more constant, be more calm down. And when
Yeah.
he gets things together, he's going to be awesome. He's going to improve. And with the progress that Lotus is doing right now, the car has been improving. Monaco is coming, is his track. If he does things right, we might see a good result. Even a podium, I think. I'm a fanboy, I know, but
Podium, my goodness me, my goodness. Well, it's interesting what you mentioned about Romain Grosjean growing up as a driver. And of course, last year we saw him right up at the front, challenging for podiums, getting podiums, doing really well. Suddenly, 2014 comes, they've got the twin tusk on the Lotus. Who knows if that's really contributing to it. But he's just not anywhere. I mean, Cameron, what's it like when you're getting to the top of your game almost, and then suddenly you're given a different car and you can't deliver the goods? Can you blame the car, or is it Romain? Do you think he's having a mental block?
It can be both, really. It could be a mixture of the driver not being used to the car that he's been given, but also the car itself is not where it needs to be. So you saw how Lewis progressively gained all the places last year. Once he transitioned between the McLaren and the Mercedes, they're two completely different cars. So he slowly gained the places, and you saw he had pace at the start, but it wasn't until the end of the season where you saw him really pushing, because he knew where the car was good. So it can be a bit of both, really.
There's the need for adapting. And talking of adapting, Andre, I see you're wearing your Red Bull hat. Vettel this weekend in Spain, new chassis, problem with the wiring loom, problem with the gearbox. He's not been able to adapt to this new car, but Daniel Ricciardo has, and to a new team. So what's your take on it as a Red Bull fan?
Well, it's been a little bit of a culture shock. I mean, Martin Brundle summed it up best during China, where he said, "What a difference a year makes." And Vettel going from winning 9 straight to suddenly getting beaten out by his teammate is interesting. I think it's caught a lot of people by surprise. I'm not sure what it's down to. Apparently, there were some chassis issues, and I think there's a lot of people within Red Bull trying to defend Vettel, because I think even they are surprised that Ricciardo's come in and been able to transition so well. I think maybe that's down to Ricciardo's experience outside of a blown diffuser. Maybe there's a whole heap of theories about it, but overall, it's great for Red Bull, because at least they can have, again, like in a similar case to Weber, they can have 2 guys up the front. Well, when I say up the front, I mean like finishing 3rd, because Mercedes is just so far ahead of everybody else at the moment. But as a team, it's good news, because they can have 2 guys that are up the field rather than 1, because ultimately the team wants to win, and I guess that's a good thing. But it's definitely been interesting so far. It's been very back and forth between the 2 so far this season, because Vettel was better in Malaysia, etc. And Vettel had a phenomenal drive in Spain, right? Where Ricciardo was just kind of silent there in 3rd. So it's going back and forth a lot as well.
I'm glad you picked up on that. The Sebastian Vettel's drive at the weekend was phenomenal, starting in 15th, finishing in 4th. I think strategy came into play. He was able to create opportunities for himself by kind of hanging back, pitting off out of sequence, and sort of playing his own game, really, and to finish 4th. Actually, I'd become a bit cynical about him last year. He was always at the front. He didn't really have to deal with any overtaking manoeuvres. Could he still overtake? This was the kind of question going around the paddock, has he lost all kind of driving skill? But actually, he proved his worth, I think, this weekend. And to finish 4th behind Ricciardo, okay, so that must hurt a little bit. Not a bad showing for Red Bull.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a real champion's drive from Sebastian Vettel. I mean, this weekend was not going right at all. I mean, wiring loom issues in practice, didn't get a final quali lap in, had to change the gearbox to start from 15th. Came through the field excellently, pulled off some great passes, did what he needed to do. Strategy-wise, he pulled off some great undercuts on people like Alonso during the final stint as well, passing Raikkonen and Bottas for P4. It was about as good a drive as they could manage, given that the front 4, the Mercedes, Ricciardo and Bottas, had pulled off into the distance early on. That was about as perfect a drive as Vettel could have managed, given the circumstances. So one of the best drives of his career, probably up there with the 2012 end-of-season performances in Abu Dhabi and Brazil. That one was right up there for me. That was exactly the kind of drive he needed, given the pressure he was under from Ricciardo and from the media.
Really good. And now Red Bull saying that they're pretty sure Ricciardo will stay with them, because of course they signed their 3-year deal. There's always a little break clause that not many people know about or don't really have to hear about. So it's looking pretty positive for Ricciardo. I think he's proved his worth already. 5 races in, so a great start in Australia. Obviously it was the team slightly that let him down there, but he's been doing well, and I think merits that place in the Red Bull team.
Absolutely. I think he's been the big surprise package of this season. A lot of people were talking about it going in. Is Daniel Ricciardo ready? Is he ready for such a massive jump from Toro Rosso, which are further down the field? And, what should it have been John-Eric Verne? Should it have been Kimi Räikkönen, who was initially interviewed about the role last season? But he's come in. He's had a fantastic podium in Spain. He should have had the one in Australia if it wasn't for the fuel gate problems further back. But I think Ricciardo's done just about everything he could have expected and then some. I think he's been a great asset to the team, and he's definitely proven his worth, I would say, so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I want to talk about American stuff now. Ryan, were you excited at the prospect that perhaps Haas Racing was looking at Caterham or even Lotus to buy out rather than start up a team from scratch?
Yeah, I was more excited about that than them actually starting up their own team, because it'd be much better if they had a facility in Motorsport Valley in England with personnel there. They could probably poach away from other teams, so they could probably be like further ahead of the grid than they would be. Because I think with them in North Carolina, they're probably going to be in the back with the Mauritius and the Caterhams.
Yeah. It's not a bad place to be. There are a couple of people hanging out there. So what's the sort of, if you mention to someone on the street F1 in America, what are you going to get? You're going to get people saying, oh yeah, F1, or are they so focused on IndyCar, NASCAR?
Completely oblivious. They would have like a certain idea of what Formula One is. Like, they would probably think about Monaco, and that'd pretty much be it.
Whoa.
Seriously. That is crazy, isn't it? How it's such a global sport, and yet the biggest country, and there's just not very much of an appetite for it. It's crazy.
Yeah, because here at university, I'm on like my Formula, like, I think in the UK they call it Formula Student. Here they call it Formula FSAE. Like, on my team of like about 50 people, like, it's only me and one other person actually follows Formula One.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so IndyCar, obviously, Indy 500 is coming up. Are you into that as well?
Yeah, I'm a big IndyCar fan. It's exciting.
Neves is looking pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, Castro Neves and Jacques Villeneuve's making a run at the 500 too.
Oh yeah. It's going to be awesome. I mean, it's a shame because I think last year it clashed. They don't seem to get it very well organised with the calendar, so you can't do both.
You could never do both. It's always been like that. Where the Monaco 500. Damn it. Like, people used to think back to the old days, where in the 60s, where like Graham Hill skipped Monaco one year to run the 500.
I don't think we can have that anymore. We couldn't really deal with that. Can you imagine? Some of the F1s were just slipping off to do the Indy 500. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, no one's going to be. Sebastian Vettel's not going to be so upset. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to run Monaco this year, guys.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, Ben Eccleston would have a heart failure. Cameron, what about you? Ever thought about trying to do some kind of Indy 500 appearance?
Well, IndyCar is sort of appealing to me, with the ever-increasing price to get into Formula One. IndyCar is always a huge option for me, because that's sort of on the same level of pinnacle of motorsport between Formula One and IndyCar. And even NASCAR, yeah, as I was going to say, NASCAR is also another huge option. But until I've reached the level at which I know I can't get to Formula One, which I hope doesn't happen, but then I will look at all the other options that are out there for me, such as IndyCar or NASCAR.
Good idea. Keep your eyes on the prize at the moment. I think that's awesome. Not bad having that as your fallback, is it? IndyCar.
No.
Not too bad. So let's just have a look at the season as it's been. So we've obviously had Mercedes dominating. Going into Monaco, is there anyone that you think should be on the podium in Monaco? And I'm going to open up this to anybody. So Andre, perhaps let's start with you. You're on the left side of all the little thumbnails. So anyone you think that could be a surprise podium? Obviously Nico Rosberg won it last year. He's going to be out to prove that he's not being mentally affected by Lewis's domination. Yeah. Who do you think we might see on the podium, not this weekend, the next?
Two guys I think that could surprise a few people. Given how Monaco is a track which obviously is very, very hard to pass, and qualifying is super important, I'd say keep an eye out for Valtteri Bottas for Williams. He's been qualifying very well so far this season. I think he's had third in Bahrain qualifying wise, fourth in Spain. And he's also very fast off the line, which definitely comes in handy.
He was so aggressive off the line in Barcelona, wasn't he? Just going for that second place. Rosberg, look out! I'm coming for you second.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So if Bottas qualifies well, I'd definitely keep half an eye on him. And the other one I'd keep half an eye out on for as well is Sergio Perez. He's a little bit inconsistent. He's a little bit inconsistent at the moment, but when Perez is good, he is very, very good. Force India have definitely got a decent package around them right now. And in terms of raw pace, I think they're solid. So if Perez can pull out another 9 out of 10 performance like he's done in the past, I keep half an eye on him as well. But I'd say keep an eye on Bottas. He could definitely surprise a few people again.
Bottas has really raised his game, hasn't he? There was that glimmer of hope in Austin last year, the overtaking move, and it was just like, whoa, this guy's got something. And then this year he's turning it into something. It's so good. He's a very nice guy. He races well, and I just think he's quietly getting the job done. I think Williams have stumbled across a little pearl there.
Yeah, I would say so. I think from the time they had Bruno Senna back in the team a couple of years ago and they had Valtteri as the test driver, I think the team was itching for any chance to get Bottas in the seat and go for it. And they've got a very nice blend, Williams, right now, of experience with Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas. And I think Bottas has been surprisingly a little bit better than Felipe Massa so far this season in terms of consistency. And the Massa had a little bit of bad luck here and there. But I think Bottas has definitely started to show he's the real deal. And, career high finish, I think, earlier this season already, another 5th in Catalonia. He's definitely punching above the weight of Williams so far this season. So I've definitely been impressed by Bottas so far.
Definitely one to watch. Lewis, I heard you saying a little thing there when we were talking about Massa, perhaps. Did that get you going?
No, but the difference of performance between Bottas and Massa, I think, is not just a little bit. I don't mean it's huge, but I think it's a little bit bigger, a little bit. I mean, Massa has definitely a better car than Ferrari the last year. He has a good car this year. I'm not saying it's a Mercedes, but it's a good car. Bottas has been doing it better than him, and Felipe has much more years in Formula 1. Even though that the car is made for Bottas, that's for sure, but still, I think that Felipe is not the same from 2009. That's something that we all know. And I think that his performance is not as big as it must be for a driver at this moment of his career.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think at the beginning of the season, everyone was focusing on the sort of same old questions you get when you have an older driver and a younger driver, and you ask the older driver, what can you teach the younger driver? And you say to the younger driver, what can you learn from the older driver? And that's kind of how everyone expects it to play out, that it's a sort of experience and previous sort of form that's going to help the youngster. But actually, this has been completely reversed, and the youngster's actually outshining the older guy. Cameron, how do you find that as a younger driver? Do you come into contact with older drivers that you can learn from? Is it as simple as that?
Well, yeah, I do come into older drivers that I can learn from. Yeah, I got Ollie Milroy as my driver coach. So
Ollie Milroy, we love Ollie Milroy.
Yeah, yeah, we've got quite a good relationship. So he's got quite a lot more experience than I have racing in the European Formula BMW when it ran with the Formula 1. So. And then he's also tested Formula 3 cars, and he's also now in GTs. So I can learn a lot from him, and this year it's already sort of proving that we work well together and that he can provide a lot of information to me that will help me in the future as well as now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then because of how sort of new to the sport in a way I am, I've only been in it 3 years, so you do always find that there's more experienced drivers that you're racing against, and because of the little experience I have, there's always going to be that older driver that will possibly outshine me, but then I will learn from them, and the roles will reverse.
And then you'll be winning.
Exactly. Yeah.
Positive mental attitude, guys. Yeah. So I just want to do a little quick question. Anyone interested in MotoGP here?
Yeah.
Yeah, MotoGP. Yeah. What are we making of the total and utter domination that MotoGP seems to be going through at the moment? Marc Marquez. I mean, should he just race on his own?
No, I just think he's cool.
He is so cool.
He's just a cool guy.
He really is.
Such a dude. He is revolutionising that sport. It was cool already. Like, MotoGP is different. It's completely different to Formula One, completely different to Rally. I mean, obviously by the vehicles, but it's just a different vibe, different culture. But he is making it super cool, and he is just a nice person as well, it seems.
Yeah, I'm so young.
So young.
Definitely. I can't agree more. I mean, Marquez is the most naturally gifted driver I've seen since Valentino Rossi. He is in a class of his own right now, and it really helps that he is a phenomenally nice bloke, and he's just overall, I think, great for the sport. I mean, why not? It's every plus point to have a young world champion, an extremely likable bloke, and just incredibly popular. By the race, I see more and more 93 flags in every race now, compared to the Lorenzo's Lair fan clubs and obviously the huge Rossi fan club that he has, the 46, the yellow guys everywhere. But yeah, it's great. It really is.
I wonder if he knows how good he is.
I don't think he has any idea.
I wonder if he knows how awesome he is.
I think he's What did he say? He was like, "Oh, I don't really want this sort of domination and stuff." You're like, you're the one that's creating it.
Slow down.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. I mean, and we've been speaking about the older driver to the younger driver. Danny Pedrosa, obviously, he's not old, but he's been in the MotoGP world a little bit longer than Mark. You know, he's struggling. He's obviously had this arm pump operation, not ideal, and you know, he seems to be having all the bad luck. It's a little bit like the Webber versus Vettel kind of effect. You know, if it's going to happen to one of them, it keeps happening to that same one. So I feel sorry for Pedrosa. He's kind of doing well if Marc Marquez wasn't there, if you know what I mean. And it's not a great position to be in.
I'd say Pedrosa would have 2 or 3 world titles by now if it wasn't for the fact that there's always just someone who's a little bit better than him.
It's just a generation thing, isn't it? Yeah. It turns out who you go to school with, or you know, who's better at whatever than you are. Oh.
There's always that one that is a little bit more attractive than you, or is a little bit more smarter than you, and that's what Danny Pedrosa's problem is. Like Jorge Lorenzo, Valentino Rossi, Casey Stoner, Marc Marquez have all come along in his era, because this is his 10th season now in the top class. Believe it or not, it goes by so quickly. But there's always been someone that's been that little bit better than him, and I feel bad for him because he has the ability to win a world title for sure, and he probably should have won by now. But he's just been bitterly unlucky, and the fact he's so small doesn't help either because he's more susceptible to getting hurt.
He is so tiny. He is so diddy. But no, you're right. For the fans, it's great. We have incredible riders just insane riders over and over again, but if you're in the pack, if you are part of that amazing group of riders, to try and be the best out of them is impossible in a way.
It is, and you know, it's always so difficult. I mean, this is the most loaded field I think MotoGP has had for a long, long time. The open class rules have definitely helped as well. They've definitely brought Ducati up the field a little bit as well. When you've got guys like Lorenzo and Rossi still in the top 4, you've got guys like Dovizioso, Bautista, Bradle,
Andrea Iannone today, surprising. With,
Iannone's improved immensely this season.
Not 7 of a second or whatever behind Marquez. I was like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like one of those things where the field has gotten so good now that one bad race could put you in 5th or 6th place now when you could be on the podium. It just doesn't help even more when the field is so stacked now as well. And further down, you've still got guys like Maverick Vinales and Louis Salom waiting to get up there as well. So
just reading off these names, Andre. I love it.
I know, it's ridiculous.
What about Rally? I mean, any takers on the Rally?
I keep missing out. I keep trying to watch it, but I'm one of those guys that ends up getting so busy I can't get around to seeing it.
It's tricky to watch as well because it does go on so long.
I mean, the WRC isn't even broadcast in America.
Don't worry, it's not really even broadcast in England either. So.
All I know about the Rally is the Petter Solberg's crash into the vineyards and then he hit a electric.
Check out the wine.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Is that in Germany? I forget. Is that Germany? I think it might have been. They always go around the vineyards there.
Flew off the track and into a vineyard.
Petter Solberg. Love Petter Solberg. He's a great guy. Great guy. WRC, though, has got a little bit exciting at the weekend with WRC Argentina because Sebastian Ogier didn't win it, which actually just by default makes it exciting because something obviously happened. With Jari-Matti Latvala, and Latvala is saying that he's more mentally prepared now for racing and he thinks it's going to be a game changer for him, which obviously it's proven to be with this last weekend's result. How much is mental strategy and preparation important, Cameron?
Well, everything outside of you've got more to do outside of the track than you do when you're actually there. When you're there, you just go flat out on the track and you come back in and do some data. That's the longest part of the data. And then you have everything else outside of the track, like the training, and you've got the simulator work. I go to the iZone, and they do a lot of mental visualization.
That's at Silverstone, isn't it, the iZone?
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on neuro tracker, so that sort of helps with your hand-eye coordination and everything to do with everything that you need for racing, really.
So you've got to continue to stay focused when you're not even racing, isn't it? That's that kind of the mental.
You can get sidetracked, and you need that sort of thing to bring you back into what you're actually aiming for, and you need to keep yourself pointing in the right direction.
And that's why I guess someone like Ollie Milroy, having him helping you out and guiding you and kind of making you realise it's all going to be okay in the end type thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's what you need, isn't it? But interesting to see Jari-Matti Latvala and Volkswagen just, I mean, there's domination again. You've got Honda dominating in MotoGP, you've got Mercedes dominating in F1, VW. It's just, I mean, it's a one-horse race in some of these places. Well, thank you very much for joining. Half an hour has slipped by rather quickly, and it's still rather sunny outside, so you can catch a few rays, even having participated in the hangout. I mean, this is how we just order it all around here at Pole Position. If you want to watch it back, it'll be on the channel over the next couple of hours, so make sure you check that out. Subscribe to the channel. We've got loads more coming up over the next few weeks, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much for joining. Bye.